It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the first films of the summer 2006 movie season on May 5th, 2006. We have 4 films to look at here, including the biggest new release of the weekend, which we'll get to in a moment. We also have not just any haunting, but an American haunting, because that's clearly going to be the thing that's going to push people to see that movie. We have a movie about saving the owls, and we also have a movie where it's Terry Zweigoff's follow-up to Bad Santa, and we'll get to those movies a little bit later on, but let's get to the biggest new release of the weekend, which is, of course, Tom Cruise returning as Ethan Hunt in the 3rd installment of the Mission Impossible series, simply titled Mission Impossible 3.
You have a wife, a girlfriend, whoever she is, I'm going to find her. I'm going to hold her. And then I'm going to kill you right in front of her.
So in Mission Impossible 3, you have Ethan Hunt once again returning and is being forced back into active duty and capturing an arms dealer played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. And you also have a cast that includes the return of Ving Rhames from the previous movie, Michelle Monaghan is in here, Billy Crudup, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, Kerry Russell, Maggie Q, Lawrence Fishburne. They're all involved in this movie. And this is a notable movie in the history of the Mission Impossible franchise, not just because of the fact that it's directed by J.J. Abrams, who is coming into this not too long after his success with Alias and Lost, and turning him into a hot commodity in Hollywood to make his directorial debut. He makes his feature directorial debut on this movie. He also wrote the script for this with Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orci, who he, of course, worked with on Lost. But this is the first Mission Impossible movie since the beginning of the first film where Ethan Hunt is working with a group. And that was always the point of the original Mission Impossible movies in general, series in general. You know, it's not just the main one person on full, right in front of your face. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to think of it without turning off the camera. But you know, this is more of an ensemble movie than the other movies were. Not quite where the movies would eventually go from here once Brad Bird took over with Ghost Protocol following this, but it's a major step in the right direction, and it really sets the tone for where the Mission Impossible franchise goes from here. Because after this movie, every movie that came out after this was either really good or great. Like Ghost Protocol was great, Rogue Nation was surprisingly better than the original Ghost Protocol was. Then Fallout came out, and that really upped the ante in general. And then we just had recently Dead Reckoning, which, truth be told, is not a very good movie. Like, I was really disappointed when I saw that film. Still a lot of cool stuff in it, though, but it's not a bad movie in general, but definitely a major step down compared to the other movies that came before it, especially considering that they were on this little bit of an uphill swing with the movies after this movie came out. But Mission Impossible 3 is the movie that helped to open that door in general, and we get a really impressive film overall with impressive action, impressive stunt work, impressive overall acting overall. Tom Cruise, I think, is very good in the film, so is Philip Seymour Hoffman, playing the bad guy in here. And you could definitely see where the direction of the series is going from here. And it worked out in the film's favor in the long run, because now everyone can't wait to see the new Mission Impossible movie because of what the work that Tom Cruise puts into this with all the stunt work he does here. But this is a nice return to form for what the Mission Impossible franchise is all about. It's not just about Ethan Hunt. It's about everybody involved and how they get involved in putting this plan together. And I think this movie does a great job of emphasizing the team aspect here that would later be perfected in the films to come afterwards. I think this is a perfect step in the right direction for this series. And yeah, looking at the other movies that have come out since then, this is definitely maybe lower on the list. But then again, that's because most of these movies have gotten better and better and better with each passing film. This is a really good movie, man. I can't recommend this one enough. This is one I think actually gets kind of an underrated approach, honestly, the more I think about it, because the film came out. It was a big hit, but it wasn't like a gigantic hit compared to the second movie. But it was a movie that took the series in the right direction overall, and I think that's what Paramount took from it when they moved the series forward with Ghost Protocol, and look at what transpired after that. But yeah, this is a movie that I think definitely deserves a lot more attention. Mission Impossible 3, a really good film, definitely the building blocks for what the series would eventually become later on down the road. So that's the movie that everybody was going to go see that weekend. Now let's see the movies that they were trying to force out there as counter-programming and kind of fail miserably at it. Let's start with the second film we have on this list, which is An American Haunting.
Something happened in this house to this girl that would become the most documented haunting in American history. It has never been explained. Now you know the truth. An American Haunting, rated PG-13, now playing.
From the director of Dungeons and Dragons. Not the good Dungeons and Dragons movie we got recently. No. I'm talking about the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie. That should be your first warning sign right there. But the film is based off the novel of The Bell Witch, An American Haunting, and the events are loosely based on the legend of the Bell Witch, which switches from the 21st century to the 19th, and features a subplot about a recently divorced mother whose daughter is going through something like the same experience as Bessie Bell, who is, of course, the inspiration in the Bell Witch storyline. And, yeah, this film really wasn't all that great in general, but because it was such a low-budgeted film, because it didn't have the traction that everyone was kind of expecting from it, plus it was also, this was back when Lionsgate was still, Lionsgate was still that independent company as a whole, the film did become a profitable success overall, so it made its money back regardless, but most people who went to see this movie only saw it on the Friday that came out because it's date night, and hey, we can't get into Mission Impossible 3, so let's go into An American Haunting instead. And then they completely forgot about it afterwards. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened with this movie in general. And really, when you look at it, you can't really see why that wouldn't be the case at all. Because, yeah, the film itself is not that great overall. Yeah, I'd avoid this one like the plague. So, yeah, skip this one, American Haunting. Not much more to say about that one. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Hoot.
95 weeks on the bestseller list.
We're bulldozing today.
What about them owls? Over 1 million copies sold.
They don't care about little birds, even if they are endangered.
Just get that site clear!
And on May 5th,
We gotta stop this construction once and for all.
the unforgettable story
Why do you want to get mixed up in all this?
comes to life.
Somebody's gotta stick up for them.
Hoot,
There's nothing to stop them from bulldozing from one coast to another.
except for us. Rated PG, featuring music by Jimmy Buck.
And then that bulldozer runs over all those kids, and the movie is over. I mean, that's pretty much that's what would make this movie much more interesting. But Hoot is, of course, based off the classic children's book of the same name. And in this movie, you have a group of children trying to save a burrowing owl habitat from destruction. Its habitat is located on the intended construction site of a pancake house, which this town in this movie is so excited for pancakes that when you watch this movie, take a drink on how many times there's everybody in this town can't wait to have their pancakes. You'll be drunk by the end of this movie. The developer of the project intends to proceed regardless of the environmental damage it would cause. Hoot features live burrowing owls and music by Jimmy Buffett. Buffett is also listed as a co-producer and stars as the science teacher in the movie. The cast also includes such notable names as Luke Wilson, Logan Lerman from the Maze Runner, or Percy Jackson. I think it was Percy Jackson. Yeah, Percy Jackson, from Percy Jackson and the Olympians. You've seen him more recently in stuff like Noah and Fury. And I think he was in Oppenheimer, too, because it's like, no, he wasn't in Oppenheimer, but he was in Bullet Train, though. I was saying that because apparently everybody that were kids in the 2000s were in Oppenheimer when you really look at it. Josh Peck was in there, but I digress. But Brie Larson, who went on to become an Academy Award winner, and of course Captain Marvel's in this as well as one of the kids. Tim Blake Nelson, Neil Flynn from Scrubs, Robert Wagner, Clark Gregg, of course Agent Coulson, Jessica Caulfield. So there is a notable cast involved in the film. The movie itself, it's your pretty substandard kids fare in general here. Even if you never read the books that this was based off of, the movie's not that great overall. It's nothing bad about it per se. It's just kind of a boring movie. Like I said, they're trying to prevent this. They're trying to save this owl habitat from somebody who wants to build a pancake house. Like, if that's the main bad guy's big evil plan overall is to build a pancake house, I'm sure there's other places in this little town where you could build this freaking pancake house. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I don't know. This movie's pretty stupid to me. Like, it's not a bad movie, but it is kind of a film that's just kind of like, I didn't get anything out of it per se. So yeah, hard pass on Hoot. So, was there any other movies besides Mission Impossible 3 that were good that came out this weekend? Well, this last movie was Terry Zwigoff's follow-up to Bad Santa, and that is Art School Confidential.
Why are you laughing, boy? Cooley, still try anything.
This isn't what you think. Humans are
bunch of jerks. I hope a plague wipes out the whole species.
About it, dude. You got any deep, dark secrets we should know about?
Art School Confidential.
Hit the juice.
So in this movie, you have Max Minghella playing Jerome, a kid from the suburbs who loves to draw. He goes to New York City Strathmore College for his freshman year as a drawing major. Competition and petty jealousy consumes faculty and students with an end-of-first semester Best Student Award held out at Grand Plum. Worse, a stranger is on the loose, killing people on or next to campus. The idealistic Jerome falls in love with Audrey, played by Sophia Myles, a student who models for life drawing classes and who responds to her sweetness. But he has a rival, the clean-cut, manly Jonah, and also a first-year drawing student whose primitive works draw raves in Audrey's attention. As cynicism seeks to corrode everything, Jerome is desperate to win. The movie is all over the place, I'm not going to lie, but this is Terry Zwigoff and Danny Kloves working together for the first time since Ghost World, and as chaotic as the movie gets overall, that's kind of the fun factor of the film in general here. Like, the movie goes to insane levels at times, and it has this appeal that, you know, what makes Terry Zwigoff's movie so great overall. You know, it's the guy that did Bad Santa, Ghost World, Crumb, these weird movies in general that just find a way to suck you in because of how insane and over the top these movies get. And here's another example of that. It's a really good film overall. Strong cast overall. You know, John Malkovich is in here, Jim Broadbent, Ethan Suplee, Joel David Moore, Nick Swardson, Angelica Houston, Adam Scott. A lot of talent involved in this movie. It's a really good movie. I thought it was a ton of fun overall. I think it's a very bizarre film overall, but that's kind of the charm of it as well. But what do you expect from Terry Zwigoff overall? Who would have thought that Bad Santa would be his most mainstream yet simplistic movie he'd ever make in general? But this is a really good movie. I really liked it a lot. Art School Confidential. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Now, the next time we meet, we'll take a look at 4 more movies, including Wolfgang Petersen's remake of The Poseidon Adventure, simply titled Poseidon. We have Lindsay Lohan in the movie that arguably was the beginning of the downfall for her with Just My Luck, the soccer film Goal, The Dream Begins, and Jeremy Piven starring in Keeping Up with the Steins. So we got 4 films overall to look at next time. We'll take a look at those 4 all in the next episode. That'll be coming up tomorrow. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the playlist as well. Check out the previous episode. I thought I got that screwed up here, but hit the playlist, check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification button because we post videos here every day, and you get updates on when new videos come out. Now, with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.